Video and photo backlogs can leave you overwhelmed, exhausted, and burnt out. We've been there, and our fears of outsourcing stopped us in the past. Can you find an editor as invested in your brand as you are? Will other photographers and filmmakers we network with look down on us for not editing everything on our own? That fear of outsourcing can be detrimental to your career. That's why we love our partnership with Weditor. Their attention to details with not only our work, but also their care for their clients through all steps of the outsourcing process lets us fully step back from editing and focus on what we love, knowing our work is receiving the attention it needs. More than just editing, Weditor is passionate about demystifying the outsourcing market. Follow Weditor on Instagram at we_r_Weditor for free educational tips, tools, and resources to guide you through the insanity of today's editing market. For an even deeper dive, follow Weditor's blog at weditor.com/outsourcing.
Welcome to the We Got You podcast, a network curated for wedding photographers and filmmakers that dives deep into the strategies and tactics to transitioning a side hustle in the wedding industry into a full-time, thriving career. We're your hosts, luxury wedding filmmaker Emma K. Films and luxury destination wedding photographer Hannah Brook Photography. It wasn't too long ago that we picked up our cameras for the first time, having absolutely no idea where it would lead us. Years later, we're traveling the globe for beautiful destination weddings, built our dream lifestyles, and run multi-six-figure careers. It didn't happen overnight and it wasn't easy, but it is attainable and so worth it. And we're ready to teach you our strategies. Covering a variety of topics from both our firsthand experiences and reputable guest speakers' insights crucial for business growth, we're exploring the art of marketing within your niche, discussing effective ways to attract and retain clients, leverage social media, and build a strong online presence, and so much more. We're not shying away from talking through the challenges of the wedding industry and offering realistic solutions to navigate them successfully. We emphasize the importance of networking, establishing meaningful relationships with clients, and continuously honing one's craft to stand out in a competitive market. This is the We Got You podcast. Hello, happy Monday, wherever you're listening from, whether it be in the car, whether it be in the office, maybe it's at home, maybe it's a Monday, it's a Friday, it is in the morning, in the evening, literally wherever you are listening from. We are so thankful that you are here for another episode of the We Got You podcast. I am here today with two of my very best friends in this industry, Jake and Nate from Runaway Vows, and we are here going to talk about climbing up the ladder of luxury with the two of them. Jake and Nate have both started Runaway Vows as wedding videographers, and it has been so cool to see their journey the last year. I have been able to we've been friends for like a year now, and it feels like way longer than that. We've been able to do so many great things together and partner together. But I'm really stoked about this episode. We're just going to kind of talk about our experiences in the luxury market, what it is like climbing up that ladder. And really kind of like before we jump into the episode today, I would just love for you both to kind of like fully introduce yourselves and like walk us through how Runaway Vows was started.
Yeah, well, Emma, thank you for having us. Always love hanging out with you. Thank you for having us on. It's been a journey. And to politely correct you, Nate and I, come on, Nate and I
know exactly what you're going to correct me on.
No, Nate and I, these last few months have really, if stop making me laugh. If Nate and I are climbing this ladder of luxury, we are on rung one. Yeah. We feel like we are at the bottom of that ladder. We know the market we want to be in. We know the types of weddings we want to be a part of. We know the types of stories we want to tell, the planners we want to work with, the venues and the locations. We know all that. That's the goal. And you, Emma, have been one of the biggest, and Nate, I think we can confidently say one of the biggest inspirations in our business of helping us get there, through your example, through your leadership, through your brand, through what you do. We are trying to just copy Emma. And this year we want to be in that market. I think videographers have ruined the word luxury a lot this year because, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like you said, like it's different now. And so many resources are now available that have never been available before. Mm-hmm. So much transparency and vulnerability about getting into different markets that has never been available before. People look at Runaway Vows and think, oh, like they're luxury wedding filmmakers. And Nate and I, even this last like week, we've been talking like, by definition, the word luxury, right? Being hard to obtain, being above the ordinary. That's what we're striving for. And whether that's in the bottom tier market or the ultra luxury A-list celebrity NDA market, we want to provide a luxury experience regardless. But yes, we are striving to be in that luxury market, which sounds so redundant to say, but
Filming
so slight
luxury
correction.
events.
But
Yeah.
but thank you, man. And yeah, Nate, we started Runaway Vows like what, 2 years ago almost, Nate, and it's evolved.
Yeah. Yep. About a year and a half ago. And it's really evolved. Really, like, we we'll probably slightly get into it, but it's something we've covered a lot, is leaving full-time filmmaker. And while we were there, we filmed, I guess, these adventurous weddings, kind of like elopements. And when we left, we all of a sudden decided that we wanted to film these, these luxury events. And we didn't know what that meant. We just know that we wanted to do them. And we knew what they looked like, and we knew we wanted to capture them. And it was kind of this huge change for us to be like, okay, well, we're used to doing elopements. Now we're doing this. So there were a whole lot of things we had to unlearn and learn for the first time, to help us kind of, like Jake was saying, kind of step onto that first rung for the ladder of climbing into the luxury market, I guess you would say.
And okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but did you both did video before Runaway Vows was together, right? So how did your paths cross to start Runaway Vows?
I kind of blackmailed Nate into it.
Whoa.
So I was Jake Weiser Films. He was Nate Tien Film. I was working at Full-Time Filmmaker since 2018, but I was always doing weddings on the side. And my brand, because I was associated with Full-Time Filmmaker, and because I was also I was just really busy. I feel like 2018, 2019, Jake Weiser Films was just busy. I was killing it. I was starting to make a name for myself. In 2018, I learned that my films could be a lot better if I had an additional shooter. And so I tried a few different guys, and me and Nate we had known each other for about a year now, just through circles. And then 2018, I had 2 bad experiences in a row. I hope they're listening to this because they'll know who they are. Where I was like, I will never not bring Nate again to a wedding. Because I learned that it's a lot more than somebody who has a camera. It's somebody who can work without being babysat, who can take creative freedom, who can be creative and be proactive, and I can trust fully. And then, so I started just baking Nate into my packages. And then over the next 3 years, Nate and I would just shoot for each other pretty much exclusively, almost exclusively. And it became this natural workflow, Nate, where we didn't have to even talk to each other on the wedding day. We just had our roles.
Yeah.
We went out, we did them, we came back, and the films were beautiful. And so then when kind of Full-Time Filmmaker was kind of on the down, and I was just kind of done with it, and Nate and I always talked man, if we joined forces, we'd kill it. And so when that option became available, I said, Nate, we should do this, man. And he's like, all right, let's do this. And we sat down and kind of talked about what holes we felt like we're missing and what things we want to bring to the table. And I feel like we've had that discussion every month for about 18 months.
Every single one of them has been different as well.
Okay, what are we missing and what can we improve on? And every month it's just a new thing. So that's kind of the story in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's the watered down.
But honestly, though, I feel like there is so much growth to that, where it's every month it really is asking yourself, what do I need to improve on? What am I getting better at? I even for myself, I've talked a lot about this last year in 2023 of it took me 11 months to reach the goal that I wanted to reach. But you know what? Then you finally reach it. And every month it's okay, what can I get better at? What can I get better at? And what can I improve on? And then just seeing your brand evolve. And I think we see a lot of brands stay stagnant when they're not thinking of how can I improve and how can I get better. And so it's really important to recognize that in your own business. So I'd kind of love to talk timeline a little bit. What was it like for Runaway Vows to start this brand with where you both work? You were both well, we really loved adventure elopements, now to shifting yourself to get into the luxury market. And I think it's really interesting too, because I think for a lot of people, even though you're both are sitting here today and you're we're not you think you're just at the bottom tier and you're working your way up there. And it's crazy because the power of marketing can have such a drastic effect on how people perceive your brand. And so like, even for me, like looking on the outside in, had I not known you at all, I'm like, oh, well, I absolutely associate you with luxury filmmakers because that's the way you've marketed yourself. That's the way you branded yourself. That's the way you network. That is what you're doing to continue to climb the ladder into luxury. And it is like this perception that is so cool to see because it is about giving off this perception of like mass experience, that we have experience in the industry. And that's why people will trust us. And that's why we'll again get to continue to climb the ladder of luxury. But kind of walk me through just like what that transition, I guess, was like. I mean, you both were doing adventure elopements. And then what was it like realizing you wanted to get into the luxury market and like kind of targeting yourself into that market?
Humbling.
So when we decided to make that switch, one of the first things we decided we wanted to do, we were meeting in this little restaurant called Zao, and we had this little talk. And for some reason, we decided we wanted to hire a brand designer. And this is because we had some buddies who started a film production company, and they were just killing it. They were doing super well. And they had the coolest looking brand. And so we started talking to them and they were preaching to us, yeah, absolutely. Get a brand designer, have them do your Instagram, have them build this look for you of what you want to be and the clients you want to bring in. So we were all on board. And that was something we had never done before. We never even thought about it, but we decided that was an important step. So one of the first steps of our timeline was saying, okay, we need a brand designer. So we found someone, Nicole from Coco's catalog. We recommend her to everyone. She is the greatest. And that was a huge experience for us because for the first time ever, we were joining forces, but we also had to sit down with each other and define roles, define what we wanted our brand to be, and then what we wanted our brand to look like. And putting forth all that effort, it was a tedious process, but putting in that effort up front has saved us a lot of brain space throughout the last couple of years. Like when we're doing a post, we know what we want it to look like when it's on our feed. We know what fonts we're using. We know what color schemes we're using, everything like that. So building that brand was largely Coco helping us and us just kind of having this vision for it because we knew we were stepping into this unfamiliar territory. I'm sure you can probably attest to this, Emma, is that sometimes it's just kind of a smoke and mirrors game. Like you're not confident all the time. You don't shoot a wedding that is just the coolest thing to post all the time, but you want to give off that look of luxury. And so we knew going into this market, something that was not, old territory for us, we had to, make some waves. We had to give off a certain appearance. So that was, I would say, probably the biggest step we took forward into creating Runaway Vows.
I love your emphasis on the branding aspect because I think a lot of us want to just kind of skip over it. And we don't it is so important that you bring on someone who every little detail matters, from the fonts, from the way that you're writing your captions, from the visual aesthetic of your feed to like what you're wearing, like all those elements of branding are so crucial, especially to pivoting yourself into a market that you're not familiar in. Because it's like the biggest question is like, how do I get into luxury when I don't have a luxury portfolio? Right. How do I get into the luxury market when I don't have experience in the luxury market? And it's like you have to give this perception that you do have experience. Like I always say, it's the perception of mass experience in a niche that you're not already technically in. And so like it is really cool just to kind of like go through your journey of seeing like how important just bringing in like a graphic design team was in order to market yourself in a way that presented that you had experience in the luxury market.
Yeah, absolutely. I also, maybe a hot take here, I'll say it. It's a thought that's forming. We'll see how it comes out.
I'm here for it.
I think that the term luxury really only applies to the planners and the planners' clients. I think we associate luxury with every vendor unnecessarily. And what I mean by that is, like some people will say, like, oh, if you're charging X amount, it means you're in the luxury market. And it's like, well, I've been paid $10,000 to $15,000 to shoot a micro wedding out in Arkansas. Definitely not in the luxury market. But I think what is important, I love what you said, Emma, like if you really want to be luxury or be in the luxury market, then be luxury. You don't have to have the weddings yet, But if you're not providing and I really want to use this term literally, a luxury experience for your clients, then don't expect to ever get into the luxury market. And so Nate and I, we sat down when we first launched our website, and the word luxury was all over it. And we thought, it took us like a month. And they were like,
still is though, if I'm being honest.
Well, we took a lot of it down.
The website.
Yeah. Well, we took a lot of it down. More so than it was when we first launched, because I was like, we're not there yet. And then what we started doing is like, okay, well, why do we have this imposter syndrome? Why do we feel like we can't call ourselves luxury? And it's like, okay, well, we're not dressing luxury. We're not emailing luxury. We're not posting luxury. We're not delivering our films in a luxury way. So nothing we were doing was actually creating a luxury experience for our clients, regardless of the market we were in. And that's what I want a lot of people to understand, is that even if you feel like you're in year one of your business and you're doing, by your definition, small budget weddings, you can still be luxury. You can still provide a luxury experience. And that, I promise you, that intentionality will propel you forward a lot farther. Because Nate and I, when we started wearing suits, when we changed our email signature, like when we started updating our pricing guide, all these little things to create a more delivering our films via VidFlow and delivery, all those little things create a more luxury experience. And so pretty soon the imposter syndrome went away. We said, no, like, even if we're not filming $1 million budgets right now with A-list celebrities, whatever, we know we will get there because we're providing a luxury experience. And the people in the luxury market, the luxury planners who actually can use that term, will notice that and want that. And we used to do a coaching call with a luxury planner just last week. And I said, like, I don't feel confident putting luxury on our website because we haven't had like a wedding yet where it's like, that's the one, like this is luxury. And she said that, she said, it doesn't matter. You provide a luxury experience. And I needed to hear that. And I think, I wish I would have heard that 2 years ago.
I think a lot of it really is the confidence aspect. I think a lot of people are really nervous and they don't feel like, they're like, well, I haven't shot luxury weddings, so I can't claim to be. And there is, of course, like, we don't encourage like creating false identities. Like, we don't want you to like claim to be someone that you're not. But just to your point, you're offering a luxury experience. And that, even for me in my own journey, was like, I haven't filmed luxury weddings yet. How do I act? How do I do the research and give off this perception that I have? Because no one wants to trust you for the first one. But as soon as you get the first one, it's like you're in and it repeats itself. And then you like can establish yourself, but it is so hard getting the first one. And so like, it is so important. Like, I remember when I finally realized like I wanted to get into the luxury market, I would literally start wearing suits and like really nice attire to every single wedding that I shot, even budget weddings, even budget weddings. Like, I would wear suits to it because I'm like, no, like, I'm going to start building this brand that is going to showcase nothing but luxury, so that when I get into the market, it's like I'm like building that credibility, like even a year in advance,
and
you know?
A story about that. Nate and I had a firsthand experience where we were communicating with some bride, or I forget who exactly it was, but we were showing up to this wedding in April. And I'd say arguably it was probably our first experience dealing with a truly luxury planner, out in Scottsdale. And Nate and I were like, you know what? We don't have like any good suits for this wedding. Like, we know it's going to be a black tie. It's going to be tux. We want to look sharp. We want this planner to love us. We want to fit in with this event. And so we showed up to Phoenix a day early, and we went to the mall and we both bought new suits to fit in the next day. And it was in Phoenix. It was hot. We're like, no, we're going to look good. So the next day we show up, and I'll just say it didn't go unnoticed. Other vendors were not dressed up to par, but we were dressed up to par, and the planners said something about it. And just hearing them say something about it, saying, "Well, you guys are just so nice," it just like was like, that little thing makes us memorable in a good way. And we did a coaching call with Larev like about a year ago. And I was like, what's your biggest piece of advice? And they said, it's make sure your name is in other people's mouths in a good way. Because if it's not in their mouth, then you're irrelevant and no one cares who you are. And no one will hire you if they don't know who you are. If your name is in their mouth, it better be in a good way. because people talk. If people say one thing, if one planner's like, oh yeah, Runaway Vows, they're good, but they kind of dress like slobs, like, no planner would ever hire us. It's those little things that truly make the biggest difference in presenting yourself as a luxury item.
Yeah, I honestly couldn't agree more. Does your current client delivery system feel unexciting, limiting, and boring? Maybe you're still using good old Google Drive or Dropbox to deliver your clients' wedding films. If the answer to these is yes, it's time to level up your video delivery experience with VidFlow. VidFlow is a pay-per-use online platform that allows you to deliver fully branded websites for each of your clients. While being incredibly affordable, VidFlow is accessible on mobile, desktop, and smart TVs with included long-term hosting so that your clients can truly enjoy the entire experience when receiving their wedding films. When I first found VidFlow, it was such an easy switch that truly benefited my business substantially. With so many incredible features and options for customization and personalization, VidFlow continues to wow my clients time and time again. You can find VidFlow on Instagram or visit their website at vidflow.co. Use our code WGY20 for 20% off a yearly premium membership and level up your client experience today with VidFlow. As you are climbing into the luxury market and establishing your brand, do you feel like the luxury market is too exclusive to get into?
I would say, I mean, Jake and I have never really sat down and talked about this. But I feel like where we're going right now is, instead of saying is it too exclusive? I think we need to be better at defining what the luxury market is. There's a lot of things kind of circulating on social media about what is the luxury market. Does it depend on the budget of the event itself, or is it how much you're getting paid as the vendor? Is it the experience of the guests? Kind of what is luxury? Because, Jake was talking about how in Arkansas, we were the highest paid vendors there, but it wasn't a luxury event. So in a way, it just needs to be defined a little better. And I think once we get to that point, we can kind of say yes or no to this. But as a whole, I would say in our experience, trying to transition to what we perceive as the luxury market, it hasn't quite been exclusive. It's just been a different set of tactics to get there. And people don't want to talk about it as much, but it does require a good amount of luck as well. And we've had a lot of lucky breaks. We've worked really hard. We've done things that we haven't been comfortable with, like networking. We're not huge networking people. We never did that at FTF. We didn't feel a need to because Full-Time Filmmaker was just this big brand that when you walk into a room as the Full-Time Filmmaker crew, you don't have to network. People wanted to talk to you. When we started Runaway Vows as a no-name company, we all of a sudden realized, and talking with people like Larev, we had to get our company in good reputation with a lot of people. So we started attending events. We had lucky breaks, meeting just one planner who gave us one wedding that ended up on People and Brides, that ended up actually getting noticed by other planners, and then rinsing and repeating that process with every other planner. So it is a dedicated mindset to get into the luxury market. And it is a set of tactics different from what it was 5 years ago, when you film a really pretty wedding, you post it on Instagram, it's really cool work, and you get all the praise of, filmmakers. That's kind of a different set of tactics. To get into the luxury market, we found is just networking with planners, working with planners, other vendors. We're not fishing for brides anymore. We're not kind of looking for couples. We're not super concerned with how we're performing on Instagram and how many views or clicks it's getting. It could get 10 views, 10 likes, but if those are 10 views and 10 likes from top wedding planners we want to work with, that's way more valuable than the reels that have millions of views from our couples. So just a different set of strategies. And I think if you use them correctly, and if you catch some lucky breaks and you're consistent, then I think anyone can get into this luxury market that we talk about. But you do need to have the work to back it up as well.
Yeah, just to go off that, I think the exclusivity of the market, it just kind of depends on who you talk to. I think there are older dogs who they have their circle of friends, and I don't blame them. Like if I was a planner and I've been doing this for 20 years and I have been through the highs and the lows of every possible vendor, and these planners have, they've had the worst experiences and the best experiences. So you can't argue that they only want to use the people they trust, whether they're better than you or not. If I was a planner, I would always hire someone I trust to do a great job and be professional than another videographer who might be a better filmmaker. So I get that. And so I think your job is to then be valuable and to add value and to find the planners who might not have that exclusive circle yet. And also like, just because like a planner does like the most perfect weddings, you just might not be a good fit either. I think the more important thing is find planners you actually vibe with, find planners you want to be friends with, build a long-term relationship with. The biggest compliment Nate and I have received that we received it, we had this workshop in October, Emma was there. And on Wednesday, we were driving to the second shoot to the villa. And I was in the car, stressful day, things were just going crazy. And we get a notification that a planner we had just worked with, a luxury planner, had just posted. And she posted our reel. And she had never posted a videographer's reel before. And the first line of that post said, "Working with Runaway Vows was a breath of fresh air." And like, I'm not even kidding, that almost made me cry. That to me is the highest compliment a planner or any vendor can give you, is if they say like, what, I've experienced it all, but you were a breath of fresh air, because that means they want to work with you again because you did something that was different than what they were used to. You raised the bar. And Nate and I this year, and our one of our main focuses for next year is to be a lot more intentional with raising the bar on what planners and most vendors expect from the videographers. We want to raise the bar and be more valuable to hopefully get in those circles. But what we're more excited about is finding the planners who are up and coming like us, that we can grow and build with. That way we can help them build their business while they build ours. And it's not like, please hire me. I need to be in the luxury market and you're already there. It's, I don't know.
To go along with that is like, sorry, Emma, just real quick to riff off that is, we've really found that it is very, very hard to get in with very established wedding planners. Those who have been doing luxury events for 20, 30 years, they have their people, they have their circle. They can say they're, accepting of, videographers, but they have their circle. And it's just old habits. They're going to send those off to people. So yeah, our biggest success has come from up and coming, just finding people who are also trying to catch that first break, that first luxury event. And we want to be the first person they go to. So younger planners is kind of like the demographic that we're kind of aiming for. And we found the most success
we identify with.
And we have more fun.
Yeah.
We have more. What were you about to say, Jake?
Nate was ready for.
I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it.
No, but like
save it for the kitchen.
To that point, though, like I think it is like that is the true definition of like climbing the ladder of luxury. I mean, truly, it's not like, and I mean, I'm in the same boat. It's like I'm not getting wedding inquiries from like the top 3 wedding planners in the globe, right? Because they have their circle. Right. It does not mean that you can't one day get there, because who's in their circle got there. However, like it is being realistic of like, it really is climbing the ladder. And that does come like with who the planners you start working with, of like first working with high-end planners and then with luxury and then ultra luxury. And like, as you climb through the ladder, but even to your point earlier, like, I know that you had mentioned like a little bit, you're like, some of it is luck situations. And I do have to say, even after you say that, it's like walking through like all the things that you have done. And I honestly will say, so much of it is truly strategy. It really is, because like, yes, when it feels like that planner finally reached out to you, it's like, oh, it's just luck. They like had a wedding coming up, but it's like you put yourself in front of them. Right. You've got your name in their mouth. You put yourself in these situations through networking, through branding, through marketing. All of the little things that you have done have led you to that moment where, maybe it was luck that they had a wedding up and coming that they needed a videographer for, but it wasn't luck that you were in their presence, like you were in their mouth. So I think it's like, It's cool to talk about.
It's a healthy balance.
Right.
Yeah.
It's being prepared when that luck or those doors open. If you're not, if you haven't put in the work to be in the right spot at the right time, you won't get lucky ever.
Yeah, exactly.
And something that Nate and I realized about that market this year, especially, and I mean, you correct me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like in our previous markets where sometimes there was a planner, sometimes there wasn't, but definitely not like a high budget weddings. You got bookings based off the quality of your work. They would pixel peep. Do you shoot 4K? Do you have a drone? Do you record speeches? Like all these like little things. Like, do you have 2 shooters? Do you shoot stable? Are your colors good? Like all those things mattered so much. And the luxury market, that all is expected. Planners won't even watch our full films. They don't care because they expect us to already produce that standard of work. What they do care about and they are curious about, word of mouth referrals. Okay, I have friends of mine worked with these videographers before. Can they vouch for them? Are they professional? Does their website look good? Do they carry themselves in a professional way? Will they please my clients? Will they be easy to work with? Will they collaborate with a photographer? All those things are a lot more important to them because the quality already is expected. Versus, I think, in our previous markets, they would hire us based off of like how good our films were.
Yeah.
And then it was a gamble if we were professional or not on the wedding day. And I've been to dozens of weddings, where the photographer was hired. I love photographers. I love photographers, but I've been to dozens of weddings where the photographers were hired solely off of their Instagram feed. Their work was gorgeous. They show up to the wedding in leggings and Crocs and just unprofessional and they pose weird and they're very invasive and they take the timeline, they adjust it all, and the planner's like, why are you messing with my timeline? Just so unprofessional. And the bride has a bad experience. They clearly don't want to be posed anymore. All these bad things start happening. It becomes this is the photographer's day. And Nate and I have been there and we just like take a step back. Like, I'm glad we're not associated with them because we are documenting. We're not making this about us. And that's the importance of hiring based off of who you are and not based off of like the latest gear presets you have.
It's so true because I even feel that for myself in the luxury market. There's so much that I am constantly learning and so many technicalities that I'm still coming to understand. And even when I had put my course together, it's solely business because you don't have to be the best filmmaker in the world to be in the luxury market. I say that also saying, as you said, Jake, it's so important that your standard, those expectations are higher. Yes. And you don't just get to come in. And that's why I always say, like, you have to have the work to back it up. You have to have the work to back it up.
Right.
But it's not everything. You don't have to be the best of the best editor or have the best of the best gear to be in the luxury market. That's just not true. Like I'm literally an example of it. Like I'm in it and I am certainly not the best editor, certainly not the best filmmaker. I don't shoot with the best gear that's on this planet. Like I don't shoot with red, and yet I'm still in it. And so there's so many different elements. And again, I say that recognizing the importance of I have to have the quality of work to back it up. And a lot of people do think like, oh, well, can I just get in then? But their wedding videos are like, looking like the first year they've ever done film. Like that's a really aggressive statement, but you have to have the quality.
No, yeah, it's
but
true.
It is important. Like you have to have the quality to back it up.
To be a little aggressive here, the people I've seen way too many Facebook threads, and I'll just say it, like the people who are so spiteful towards the luxury market are the people who are so focused on the technical side of filmmaking. And they feel so threatened that their value is being diminished because they don't want to create a good business, a good brand, and a good reputation. They would rather just be perfect filmmakers. And now when someone comes along, younger people or any market and says like, that's great, cool, I'm glad you can be a good filmmaker, but I need you to be professional. I need you to wear this. I need you to act like this. I need you to fit into my events. And they get all butthurt about it because they don't know how to do that. And they refuse to evolve and they refuse to grow. And that generation is dying out quickly and they're dying out loudly and they're dying out with anger. And I can't wait for them to be dead. So.
You
can't wait for them to be out of the market is what you mean.
Be irrelevant. Yeah. I don't wish death on anybody. It was a metaphor. It was a lengthy metaphor.
Yeah, they're dying in the market. You can't wait for them to be out.
I'm sorry, Emma. Our podcast is for us to get canceled. This is not for your podcast.
This is exactly why Nate and you are both partners, because Nate can like reel it in. Nate is like, no, that's not what we meant. This is what we meant.
But see how he doesn't reel it in? He lets me go, and then that's where the clip will end. And then he'll be like, actually, Jake, I take the high road here. But we'll only get that one part posted of me just going. Anyway, I hope you guys. Well, okay. Let me back up. I hope you guys understand the spirit of what I was trying to say.
People understood the spirit. I think people understood the spirit.
Yeah,
it's just you
I'm not wishing death on anybody.
A little too quick. Yeah, no, I get it.
I'm wishing
a speedy.
Jake
I'm wishing a
Weisler
speedy irrelevance
upon old filmmakers.
I'm wishing a speedy irrelevance on the archaic way of doing business.
No, and it's honestly like important to talk about that, because like I've said, like I very much want to learn from those who are in the luxury market right now. I want to learn from those who are just getting in, who are trying to get in. And it's not because I have anything against the filmmakers who got in 10 years ago. It's just the fact that it was way different 10 years ago in terms of getting in. Think about how relevant digital marketing is in this day and age. And in the world of influencing, it was not like this 10 years ago. So it's like, absolutely, I am going to learn the most from like, how are you doing it? What are you doing right now? And like, how can I apply that? And so I think it is a relevant like conversation habit, just as 20 years from now, like it's going to be different for me. And there's going to be new filmmakers entering into the industry, getting into the luxury market, that I'm going to be like, dang, like what are you doing? Right. And so it's just like, it's great to talk about it. And I think like this has been so cool to just get to talk to you both. And I think obviously we could go on and on and on forever about it, but it's really cool to just hear from your perspective, especially like, even though you guys are like, we're not like fully in the luxury market yet, but like you guys are climbing the ladder, you guys are doing it. And like thinking about how much I've seen Runaway Vows evolve in the last, literally just like the last 6 months is crazy, and like, I just have so much respect for the two of you. You both inspire me so much. Like, I think even for me, like, as the audience listening here knows, like I am way more business oriented than I ever was a creative. And I have learned so much from the two of you, like creatively, and just like the techniques of how you both film that, yeah, it's been so helpful. But I would love to know before, I don't want to ramble on.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you.
I love you guys. But I would love to know before we close out the episode.
There it is.
Okay, yeah, you always make fun of me because I have my like little crying
high pitched.
Well, it just comes out of nowhere.
The most like random times.
You're just being a business baddie, and all of a sudden, I just love you guys. It's like,
it just gets all soft.
I love it. I love it, Emma. We love you. Emma, we love you.
Thank you. I can't even not say it in that tone. Like, love you guys.
I know.
No.
I know.
Okay, before we close out the episode, I want to know Instagram handles. I want your website. And then also give us like a little plug on your podcast, because you guys just started one literally like a few months ago. So like give us like connection aspects.
Basically everything that Jake just said about he can't wait for people to die off. That's basically our episodes, is 90 minutes of Jake just being very politically incorrect, and I basically moderate it and just let him go.
Politically incorrect is a stretch. I give honest takes on things.
I could pull up 10 clips right now. 10 clips, top of my head.
Anyway, guys, give us a follow at here. I'm actually gonna list all of them. Runaway Vows is the main one. And then we also just started our Runaway Vows education page, where we'll post a lot more podcast clips. Our podcast is just on Spotify. Thanks, Emma, for letting us plug it. It's really just a place where Nate and I have like team therapy sessions, and we actually just read funny stories that our viewers submitted about horror stories that happened at weddings, and we read those. It's called The Kitchen, and that's where we cook. So,
and we that was a good one, Jake. That was a good one.
Cook up politically correctness.
And in The Kitchen, we kind of just wanted to be something different, and we do enjoy teaching. We do it for a living. And so with the kitchen, we read funny stories, we read horror stories, but we try to sprinkle in some tidbits of wisdom and information in there. So it's not completely irrelevant to wedding filmmaking. We still try to make it relevant.
If you're looking for value, the We Got You podcast is number one.
It's way more value.
There's
about 30 other podcasts before ours, and then
the kitchen.
If you have like an hour commute, sure, why not just turn us on and see what comes out of our mouths.
I love it though. Like I love listening because honestly, and I will say this, like business is great. Listen, like be here and listen to this because like we've given so much free education, but also it is so nice sometimes to just like hear some unhinged stories. Like sometimes I just want the tea, I just want the drama, and that's just what I want to think about. And like I don't want
There are some crazy things that have been submitted that we feel very uncomfortable reading, but we just have to remember we're reading, we're not saying.
That's exactly right. You are just
and I've never not been politically correct.
Jake's hung up on the hung up on that.
Needs to clarify, but no, thank you both so much for being on the podcast. It's seriously been so great to have you both. As I'm sure for everyone out there that sees, we are hosting our workshop together in Ireland. It's a collaboration between WFW and Runaway Vows, which is so exciting. But yeah, I adore you both, and we will see you next week on the We Got You podcast.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the We Got You podcast. We would absolutely love it if you could take an extra minute to leave us a review and let us know what you think. DM us a screenshot of it and we'll send you a coffee on us. If you want access to an exclusive community, rad freebies, giveaways, and wedding referrals, then join our Facebook group today. Also, if you aren't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel and make sure that you're following along on Instagram at WeGotYou_podcast to stay up to date. We'll see you next week on the We Got You podcast.